Forest birds, guardians of the trees. In the dappled light filtering through dense canopies, a symphony of chirps, trills, and calls echoes through the forest. These sounds belong to some of nature's most essential workers, forest birds. Far from being mere ornamental inhabitants of woodland landscapes, these feathered creatures serve as vital guardians of the trees, performing ecological services that sustain entire forest ecosystems. Their role extends far beyond adding beauty and song to our natural spaces. They are fundamental architects of forest health, diversity, and resilience. The invisible network of forest guardians. Forest birds operate within an intricate web of ecological relationships that most observers never witness. Every morning, millions of birds across the world's forests engage in activities that directly protect and nurture the trees around them. A single chickadee, for instance, can consume up to 500 insect eggs in a day during breeding season. Multiply this by the thousands of birds inhabiting any given forest, and the scale of their pest control becomes staggering. These avian guardians work across multiple forest strata, from the leaf litter on the ground to the highest branches of the emergent canopy. Ground-dwelling species like thrushes and towhees scour the forest floor for insects and larvae that might otherwise devastate tree roots and saplings. Mid-canopy dwellers, such as warblers, meticulously inspect bark crevices and leaf surfaces for hidden pests. Meanwhile, canopy specialists like tanagers patrol the uppermost branches, protecting the vital photosynthetic surfaces where trees produce their energy. Pest control, nature's most efficient exterminators. The pest control services provided by forest birds represent one of their most critical guardian functions. Insects, while essential to forest ecosystems in balanced numbers, can become devastating when populations explode. Outbreaks of caterpillars, beetles, and other herbivorous insects can defoliate vast tracts of forest, weakening trees and making them vulnerable to disease and drought. Birds provide a natural check on these populations. Research has demonstrated that forests with healthy bird populations experience significantly less insect damage than those where bird numbers have declined. In one landmark study, scientists excluded birds from certain forest plots and found that herbivorous insect populations increased dramatically, leading to measurable increases in leaf damage and reduced tree growth. The economic value of this service is immense. Forests lacking adequate bird populations often require human intervention through pesticide application, which comes with substantial financial and environmental costs. Birds provide this service free of charge, working 24 hours a day during breeding season when both adults and nestlings consume vast quantities of insects. A family of woodpeckers, for example, can eliminate thousands of bark beetles, insects capable of killing entire stands of trees, in a single breeding season. Seed dispersal, planting tomorrow's forests. Beyond pest control, forest birds serve as essential agents of seed dispersal, effectively planting the forests of the future. Many tree species have evolved specifically to attract birds, producing fruits and seeds that appeal to avian tastes and nutritional needs. In return, birds consume these fruits and disperse the seeds across vast distances, often depositing them in locations ideal for germination. This mutualistic relationship between birds and trees has shaped forest composition for millions of years. Birds like jays and nutcrackers are particularly important seed dispersers for nut-producing trees such as oaks and pines. These birds cache thousands of seeds each autumn, burying them in scattered locations as winter food reserves. Many of these caches are never retrieved, and the forgotten seeds germinate into new trees, often miles from their parent plants. Fruit-eating birds, thrushes, waxwings, and many tropical species, perform similar services for berry-producing trees and shrubs. As they move through the forest, they deposit seeds in their droppings, complete with a natural fertilizer packet that helps the seedling establish. Some seeds actually require passage through a bird's digestive system to germinate successfully, as digestive acids break down protective seed coats that would otherwise inhibit sprouting. This seed dispersal is particularly crucial for forest regeneration after disturbances. When fires, storms, or logging create forest gaps, birds serve as nature's reforestation crew, bringing in seeds from surrounding areas and facilitating the recovery of damaged landscapes. Without birds, many tree species would struggle to colonize new areas or recover from disturbances, fundamentally altering forest structure and diversity. Pollination, forging floral partnerships. While insects typically receive credit as primary pollinators, many forest birds also play crucial roles in plant reproduction. Hummingbirds in the Americas, sunbirds in Africa and Asia, and honeyeaters in Australia have evolved specialized relationships with flowering trees. These birds possess long bills and tongues perfectly adapted to reach nectar in tubular flowers, and as they feed, pollen adheres to their heads and bills, transferring between flowers as the birds make their rounds. Forest trees that rely on bird pollination often produce large, brightly colored flowers rich in nectar, characteristics that attract birds but not insects. These include many economically and ecologically important species. The evolutionary partnership between birds and their preferred flowers demonstrates remarkable specificity, with flower shape, color, and nectar composition precisely matched to their avian pollinators' preferences and physical characteristics. In tropical forests, where tree diversity reaches its zenith, bird pollination becomes even more critical. Some rare tree species depend entirely on specific bird species for pollination, creating vulnerable relationships where the loss of the bird could spell extinction for the tree, and vice versa. These relationships underscore the interconnectedness of forest ecosystems and the importance of protecting bird populations to maintain forest biodiversity. Nutrient cycling, fertilizing the forest. Birds contribute to forest health through less obvious but equally important mechanisms, including nutrient cycling. Their droppings, known as guano, serve as a natural fertilizer, returning nutrients to the soil that trees require for growth. This is particularly significant in tropical forests, where most nutrients are locked up in living vegetation rather than in the soil. Seabirds that nest in coastal forests provide especially concentrated nutrient inputs, importing marine-derived nutrients from their ocean feeding grounds and depositing them beneath their nesting colonies. These nutrients can dramatically increase forest productivity in areas surrounding seabird colonies, creating lush forest patches that stand in stark contrast to surrounding nutrient-poor environments. Even common forest birds make significant contributions. A single woodpecker excavating a nesting cavity produces substantial amounts of wood chips and frass that accelerate decomposition on the forest floor. Migrating birds transport nutrients across vast distances, effectively moving resources from productive feeding areas to breeding grounds that might otherwise be nutrient-limited. Cavity creation, building homes for forest communities. Woodpeckers and other cavity-nesting birds perform a guardian function that extends far beyond their own species. When they excavate nesting holes in trees, they create real estate that numerous other forest dwellers depend upon. After woodpeckers abandon their cavities, a succession of secondary cavity nesters moves in, from small owls and flying squirrels to bees and bats. These cavities also serve ecological functions beyond providing shelter. They become sites of decomposition, allowing fungi and insects access to the tree's interior, which accelerates nutrient cycling. The presence of multiple cavities in older trees increases structural complexity, creating microhabitats that support diverse communities of invertebrates, lichens, and fungi. Old-growth forests with abundant cavity-nesting birds support dramatically higher biodiversity than young forests lacking these features. The cascading effects of cavity creation demonstrate how birds function as ecosystem engineers, modifying their environment in ways that benefit countless other species. Indicators of forest health. Forest birds serve as sensitive indicators of overall ecosystem health, acting as early warning systems for environmental problems. Because birds occupy high trophic levels and have relatively high metabolic rates, they're among the first species to show effects when ecosystems become stressed. Declining bird populations often signal issues with habitat quality, pollution, or climate change before these problems become obvious through other measures. Conservation scientists regularly monitor bird populations to assess forest health and the effectiveness of management practices. Changes in bird community composition, such as the loss of specialist species or increases in generalist species, can indicate habitat degradation, fragmentation, or other environmental stresses. This monitoring function makes birds invaluable partners in forest conservation, providing data that helps managers make informed decisions about forest protection and restoration. Threats to the guardians. Despite their critical importance, forest birds face mounting threats. Habitat loss through deforestation remains the primary danger, with millions of acres of forest cleared annually for agriculture, development, and logging. As forests shrink and fragment, bird populations decline, and with them, the ecological services they provide. Climate change poses additional challenges, altering the timing of insect emergences that birds depend upon for feeding their young, shifting the ranges of both birds and their food sources, and increasing the frequency of extreme weather events that destroy nesting habitat. Many migratory species face the compounded challenge of threats in multiple locations. Breeding grounds, wintering areas, and stopover sites along migration routes must all remain intact for populations to persist. Invasive species, both predators like cats and rats and competitors like starlings, threaten native forest birds. Pesticide use, even when not directly targeting birds, reduces insect populations that birds depend upon for food. Window collisions, communication tower strikes, and other human-created hazards kill millions of birds annually. Protecting the protectors. Conserving forest birds requires multifaceted approaches that address habitat protection, restoration, and connectivity. Preserving large, intact forest blocks provides core habitat for species requiring old-growth characteristics. Protecting migration corridors and stopover sites ensures that migratory species can complete their annual cycles. Reforesting degraded lands and maintaining habitat corridors between forest fragments allows birds to move across landscapes and maintain genetic diversity. Forest management practices that retain structural complexity, standing dead trees, diverse canopy layers, and understory vegetation, support richer bird communities than simplified, plantation-style forests. Reducing pesticide use allows natural pest control by birds to function effectively. Simple measures like keeping domestic cats indoors and making windows visible to birds prevent millions of unnecessary deaths. Indigenous land management practices often support healthy bird populations, as traditional ecological knowledge emphasizes the interconnections between species and the importance of maintaining balance within ecosystems. Recognizing and supporting indigenous stewardship of forested lands benefits both birds and the broader ecosystems they inhabit. Conclusion: a shared future. The relationship between forest birds and trees represents one of nature's most elegant examples of mutualism, a partnership where both parties benefit and thrive together. Trees provide birds with food, shelter, and nesting sites. In return, birds protect trees from pests, disperse their seeds, pollinate their flowers, and maintain the ecological conditions forests need to flourish. As we face unprecedented environmental challenges, the guardian role of forest birds becomes more critical than ever. Healthy bird populations contribute to forest resilience in the face of climate change, pest outbreaks, and other disturbances. By protecting birds, we protect the forests themselves, along with the countless services forests provide to humanity: carbon storage, water filtration, soil conservation, and innumerable others. The morning chorus of birds greeting the dawn is more than a pleasant soundtrack to a forest walk. It's the sound of guardians at work, performing their essential duties to protect and nurture the trees around them. Every chirp, trill, and call represents a bird engaged in the vital work of maintaining forest health. By recognizing and valuing these feathered guardians, and by taking action to protect them, we invest in the future of forests and the irreplaceable benefits they provide to all life on Earth. The fate of our forests and the birds that guard them are inseparably intertwined. To protect one is to protect the other, and to lose one is to imperil both.